Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is Star Trek Discovery, in which I drink whiskey, in this case Maker's Mark, and I watch Star Trek Discovery because that's how it's meant to be watched. So anyway, this is Season 2, Episode 6, The Sounds of Thunder, and Star Trek needs to borrow $20 until payday, dog, because it is broke. Oh my gosh. So I was telling my buddy, I was trying to get my buddy into watching it, and he used to watch Star Trek, be a big Star Trek fan back in the day, and then he kind of got out of it. So I was trying to sell him on it, and he goes, "Why should I watch it?" I go, "Because it's like a movie. It's like half of a big budget movie every week. The production values are incredible." So he was kind of into it, and the CBS All Access thing is annoying as hell. So I said, "Hey, I heard that season 2, episode 1 is for free on YouTube." So we spent like 10 minutes trying to find it, but I guess it was only free for like a week and then they took it down. They had season 1, episode 1, but that one wasn't as good. So then I was trying to explain to him CBS All Access, and he's like, he didn't want to give the credit card. I had an account, but I accessed it through Amazon Prime Video. So I wasn't even sure how to get him to watch it on my account. I was like, maybe if you log into my Amazon Prime on your laptop, it'll work. And he just got frustrated and quit. So then I was like, okay, whatever, I'm going to go watch this on my phone. And I watched it, and I remembered something that I had heard in some videos. So apparently, Star Trek Discovery just got renewed for season 3, which I'm really happy about because there was a lot of doubt about it. They announced the Picard series, and people were thinking that the Picard series was going to replace Discovery. Like Discovery was just going to be 2 years. There's been a whole bunch of shenanigans and corporate stuff, and they're on like their third set of showrunners, and season 3 is going to have a new showrunner with the old one, and it's pretty crazy. But what I heard about season 2 is that whoever was the showrunner for the first 3 episodes, which were really good, spent like a ton of money, like way more than they were supposed to do, because they got a budget for the whole season, which I think is like 15 episodes or something. Now, if you watch TV, like I used to really be into Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and you could really tell which episodes were meant to be really cheap so they could spend more on the other. Like they would have like every 8 episodes would be some shenanigans in the Senate, and that was really cheap. It was a bunch of models, 3D models they already had, characters they already had, maybe like one new character, and then that's how they would save money for the other episodes that had these giant space battles and like a million characters. So I had heard that the people got fired or something after episode 3, and that the other episodes were supposed to be a lot cheaper, but episodes 4 and 5 still looked like a movie, like a good movie. Oh my gosh, take Star Trek Discovery to Payday loans. Make sure they got their they got the phone number of their boss to confirm their unemployment, because these mammer jammers need to borrow $20 till payday because they are broke. This was the cheapest episode I have ever seen. I've seen 6 episodes of season 2. I don't know, 3 or 4 of season 1. And this is the only one. This is the one that looked like a TV show. It looked like it had the budget of an episode of Enterprise. It was, mainly on the ship or on an enemy ship that was kind of like the budget of like a Doctor Who episode from like 10 years ago. Like it was okay, but it wasn't no feature film quality and budget type of thing. So this one was mainly about Saru. There's been several episodes about Saru. He's a really good character. They got Doug Jones, I think, in some really good makeup. He does a great job. And this was about, they got this thing called Vaharai. Vaharai is like Pon farr, except for instead of mating, you die. So the Kaminarians, whatever Saru is, They exist on this planet where there's two species. They've got a predator and a prey. So spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. So they've been building this up for 2 seasons that Saru comes from a prey species. They're very submissive. They're very beta. They basically live for a certain amount of time, and then they go, oh, it's time for me to be sacrificed because of the great balance. That's like their religion. It's sort of like their ecosystem. So Saru, through some not that well-written shenanigans, ends up in Starfleet. And then he faces his Vaharai, in which you either offer yourself up to be eaten, enslaved. I'm not sure what happens. But you basically get teleported somewhere and you're gone. So he kind of doesn't follow the rules, and he thinks he's going to go insane, but he just basically loses all his fear. He becomes like an alpha. Like he becomes a Chad. He's a space Chad. But that was kind of cool. That happened, I think, like 2 episodes ago. And it kind of felt like that was like the end of that storyline. But this time they end up back on Kaminar. They're chasing the Red Angel. We get a much better view of the Red Angel. The Red Angel first seems kind of like spectral, supernatural. But this one, we get a closer view of the Red Angel. And the Red Angel looks like a person in a spacesuit. So you're like, oh, okay. But this thing's been around for 200 years, or maybe it time travels. Nobody knows. So we end up with some Prime Directive, which they call General Order Number 1. By the way, if you haven't watched my videos or other videos, I guess it's finally come out that Star Trek Discovery is absolutely not a prequel to Star Trek the original series. Through a bunch of corporate shenanigans and copyright rules and licenses, it looks like Star Trek Discovery is in the same timeline as Frat Trek, J.J. Abrams Trek, Chris Adams? Whatever, Chris Pine, yeah, Pine. That timeline, which makes sense because they basically look the same. It was announced last year or 2 years ago. They're like, oh, this is going to lead into Star Trek the original series, which has like freaking wooden spray painted sets. And I was like, no, this doesn't look like it's leading to this at all. But it absolutely does look like it's in the same timeline. So anyway, they call it the Prime Director, or no, they call it General Order Number 1. Supposedly everything has to be like 25% different. But they actually got around it in a pretty good way. There's 2 species. There's the Baru, and the Kaminarians, whatever. But the predator species is, they've got warp drive, which makes them eligible to be contacted by Starfleet. So they're basically like, well, General Order Number 1 says we can't interfere, but they're like, well, but these are already a spacefaring race. So it's like, all right, cool. So that makes sense. They go down. This episode is so cheap. But the big twist that I thought was pretty cool was they use this information that they gleaned from the last episode with like this living star or something, I forget. And they find out that the Kaminoans, Saru's race, they used to be the predators. Then the prey race advanced their technology. They were able to flip the script, and now they're the predators. And I was like, all right, yeah, that was cool. I absolutely did not see that coming. That was unexpected. It was interesting. And that basically bought you everything you needed for me to like this episode. So once I started in with that part, I thought it was really cool. They basically work it out that the whole great balance and one species sacrifice itself to the other. They get rid of that. And again, this looks like a major Prime Directive, General Order Number 1, breach, whatever. Sorry, I'm a little drunk. I can't remember the word. But it makes sense because Michael Burnham basically says, hey, no matter what, oh man, super drunk. Whatever. The prey species, Baku, they're still light years above the Kaminoans. So it's okay. And it's kind of convincing. Oh, so they also have a little bit with Dr. Culber, who's the boyfriend or husband of Stamets, just a little bit at the beginning. And it's pretty cool because they talk about how even though he has been reborn in this new body, he doesn't feel good. He doesn't feel right, which is really, really interesting because it reminds me of a couple things I've read recently. Number one was this woman who had LASIK and then she ended up killing herself. And she was talking to her husband before she did it. And she basically said it really messed with her. Her senses didn't match her brain, and it was really throwing her off, which is interesting because I've actually had PRK and LASIK, not LASIK, LASIK, and I forget which one I was supposed to have. It was when I was in the army in Germany, but they were gonna do, I think, PRK on both eyes, and then they did it on one eye and it went fine, and then they did it on the other eye, and they were seeing that it wasn't going well, so they just called an audible. The doctor was like, okay, I'm stopping this one. It's not going to go right. We're just going to come back in a couple weeks and we'll do a different procedure on that eye. I forget why. But for like a couple weeks, I had one eye that had been corrected and one eye that wasn't. And that messed with my brain so freaking much. Like they gave me glasses that had, a prescription lens in one eye and a non-prescription in the other. But something was happening. It was like the signals from the different eyes were getting to my brain like 1/1,000,000th of a second off. And like I felt weird. I felt messed up. So when Culber is, back to life but doesn't feel good, like it kind of made me think about this thing with the woman and the thing that I had when I had like my laser eye surgery. So I was like, okay, I remember that. And then there was this other thing I recently read about rich people in Silicon Valley doing research on how to extend their life. And there was these things, I forget they were called. They were called like themasomes or something like that. Something in your DNA. Anyway, when you're young, these strands are really long and they replicate throughout your whole life. And as you get older, they get shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's why you age. And the theory is that if you were able to keep these whatever things in your DNA from getting shorter, that you would basically be reset. Now, you wouldn't become like a child, but you would basically become like a 25-year-old genetically. You would be at the point where you have matured, but you are not aging yet. So I thought that was really interesting. But I also thought it would kind of like mess with you because it wouldn't change your mind. You'd still have like an 80-year-old mind. But anyway, I'm babbling because whiskey is good. But anyway, it was a good episode. It was interesting. I liked it. I was very captivated by it. But it was kind of shocking to see like a huge change in the production value. So supposedly the next episode we're finally going to meet Spock. And yeah, the Spock might be the Red Angel because it's obviously a humanoid in a suit. But we'll see. I'm very, very interested in meeting the Spock, especially now that Midnight's Edge and Mecha Random 42 have done those videos explaining that Star Trek Discovery absolutely does not lead into Star Trek the original series. It is basically just in the same timeline as the Frat Trek J.J. Abrams Trek. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm ready to meet this new alternate version of Spock. I'm really excited about it. The only thing I didn't really like about this video is I really like Tilly. I thought I was going to hate Tilly, but she became one of my favorite characters. And she is barely in this video. Like that weird robot girl that kind of looks like Thanos' daughter, the metallic one. She gets like as much lines as Tilly. So I'm Team Tilly and bring her back more. But anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. And I think I'm going to do, I'm actually 2 episodes behind. Another episode just came out tonight. So I think I'm going to do that episode tomorrow if my buddy doesn't drink all the whiskey, but I hit it. So hopefully he won't find it. Thanks for watching.